In August 2025, the U.S. automotive industry was rocked by a dramatic policy shift that sent shockwaves through boardrooms and factory floors alike. The Trump administration announced sweeping new import tariffs, targeting foreign-made vehicles and auto parts with some of the steepest duties in modern history. These tariffs, the highest in nearly a century, have upended global supply chains and imposed billions in new costs on car manufacturers, forcing companies to rethink their sourcing and production strategies. The goal? To protect American jobs and industries by making foreign cars and parts more expensive, pushing consumers toward domestic products, and encouraging companies to invest in U.S. manufacturing. But the reality is more complicated. Modern cars are built from thousands of parts sourced worldwide, so even American-made vehicles are affected by these tariffs, as their components often cross borders multiple times before final assembly. Now, automakers and consumers face a critical question. Who will ultimately pay for these new expenses? Will companies absorb the costs, or will they be passed on to buyers? Supporters say tariffs will revive U.S. manufacturing, create new jobs, and restore lost industries, promising a brighter future for American workers. But critics warn of disrupted supply chains, higher prices, and economic fallout, arguing that the costs could ripple through the entire economy and hurt more than help. For everyday Americans, the impact could soon be felt at the dealership, with new cars becoming less affordable and monthly payments rising for many families. The risk of retaliatory tariffs from other countries also threatens U.S. exports, putting American-made vehicles and parts at a disadvantage overseas. As the industry braces for uncertainty, both corporate profits and family budgets hang in the balance, with ripple effects likely to be felt for years to come. The global auto market has entered a new, unpredictable era, one where the true cost of a car is no longer just about steel and labor, but about the shifting tides of international trade. The August 7, 2025 trade policy overhaul was a seismic shift, sending shockwaves through the American economy and beyond. Overnight, the rules of the game changed for one of the country's most vital industries. The new measures targeted the very heart of the auto industry, an industry that supports millions of jobs and countless communities across the nation. A sweeping 25% import duty was imposed on all passenger cars and light trucks, instantly adding $10,000 to the sticker price of a typical $40,000 vehicle. For many families, the dream of a new car suddenly felt out of reach. The tariffs didn't just hit foreign brands. American automakers like Ford and GM, who import parts and models, were also caught in the crossfire. Even companies with deep roots in the U.S. found themselves scrambling to adapt. The 25% tax extended to a vast array of imported auto parts, disrupting the intricate global supply chains that keep U.S. factories running. Suddenly, sourcing affordable components became a daily challenge. On top of that, a staggering 50% duty was slapped on imported steel and aluminum, essential for every car built in America. These metals are the backbone of modern vehicles, and costs soared almost overnight. Domestic metal production can't meet demand, so automakers face massive new expenses. Many companies are now forced to make tough decisions about production, staffing, and pricing. The result, a formidable financial wall around the U.S. auto market, with the average import tax rate soaring to levels not seen since the 1930s. The industry hasn't faced barriers like this in nearly a century. The stated goal is to force companies to move production to the U.S., but the immediate effect is financial distress for an industry already operating on thin margins. Executives are under pressure, and uncertainty is everywhere. The policy's ripple effects are being felt in every boardroom and on every assembly line, from the largest automakers to the smallest suppliers. The industry's global model is under threat. International partnerships and decades-old supply routes are suddenly in jeopardy, forcing companies to rethink their entire approach. The future of car manufacturing in America is suddenly up for grabs, with every player in the industry facing a new and uncertain reality. The financial shock from these tariffs was immediate. The auto sector's tariff bill soared to $11.8 billion almost overnight. This new cost slashed corporate profits, forcing automakers to rethink investments and operations. In just one quarter, 14 major automakers saw operating profits plunge by $12 billion, a direct result of the new trade policy. Billions that could have fueled innovation or factory upgrades vanished, threatening jobs and the entire automotive ecosystem. The ripple effect is real. When automakers lose profits, suppliers and workers feel the pain. Companies are now delaying projects, cutting costs, and squeezing suppliers, putting smaller businesses at risk. The industry's reliance on global supply chains has become a liability. Automakers with factories abroad are now penalized for past strategic decisions. Political risk is now as critical as engineering or market demand. No automaker was hit harder than Toyota. The company, long seen as a symbol of reliability and global reach, suddenly found itself at the epicenter of a financial storm. In Q2 2025, tariffs cost Toyota over 3 billion yen, slashing its earnings and threatening its future investments. The impact was immediate and severe, sending shockwaves through its global operations. If tariffs persist, the annual cost could reach 9.5 billion yen, potentially cutting Toyota's net profit by 44%. Such a dramatic loss would force the company to reconsider its priorities and spending. This jeopardizes Toyota's ability to invest in electric and autonomous vehicles, key to its long-term strategy. Innovation could slow, putting Toyota at a disadvantage in the race for the future of mobility. Toyota has invested over $50 billion in the U.S., with 10 plants and nearly 50,000 American employees. These investments have supported local economies and created thousands of jobs across the country. The company argues it's a vital part of the U.S. economy and shouldn't be penalized for following trade agreements like the USMCA. Toyota points to its deep roots and long-standing partnerships in North America. Yet, the new tariffs apply across the board, ignoring these commitments. The rules have changed overnight, leaving Toyota scrambling to adapt. For Toyota, this is more than a financial hit. It challenges the logic of decades of investment in North America. The company must now weigh its options carefully. The company now faces tough choices about its future in the U.S. market. Every decision carries risks for its workforce, partners, and reputation. The path forward is uncertain, with billions at stake. Toyota's leadership is under pressure to find solutions in a rapidly changing environment. The trade war has upended Toyota's North American strategy, forcing the automaker to rethink its future in a market it once considered secure. U.S. automakers like GM and Ford weren't spared. GM faced a $1.1 billion tariff hit in Q2 2025, with annual costs projected up to $5 billion, cutting net profit by 35%. These losses come as GM tries to invest in electric vehicles, slowing its ability to compete. Ford reported a $1 billion tariff cost, with rising expenses on every vehicle due to taxes on parts and raw materials. Both companies rely on global supply chains, so the tariffs disrupt their business models. The policy penalizes even American companies, blurring the line between domestic and foreign. In a globalized industry, trade wars create pain for all sides. There are no simple winners. The fallout is widespread, affecting workers, suppliers, and future innovation. The tariffs hit automakers differently. Just look at Volkswagen and Tesla. Volkswagen lost $1.5 billion in Q2, as many of its high-margin models are imported from Europe and now face steep taxes. The company must choose absorb the cost or pass it to consumers, risking market share. Tesla, by contrast, reported a much smaller $300 million tariff cost. Why? Tesla builds most of its U.S. cars domestically, insulating itself from the worst of the new taxes. Still, Tesla isn't immune. It pays more for imported components and raw materials. The lesson: a localized supply chain offers protection, but no one escapes unscathed. Automakers' vulnerability now depends on where and how they build. The new trade era rewards those who produce locally. Despite billions in new costs, car prices haven't surged yet. Automakers are absorbing the tariffs for now, fearing that raising prices first will drive customers to rivals. But this strategy can't last. If tariffs remain, companies will have to pass costs to consumers. Analysts warn, a wave of price hikes is coming if the policy sticks. The average new car could jump by nearly $6,000, putting vehicles out of reach for many families. Even U.S.-built cars will get pricier, as parts and materials cost more. The entire market could slow, with fewer sales and more financial strain on households. For now, consumers are shielded, but the threat of higher prices looms. The standoff between automakers and consumers can't hold forever. The tariffs hit as the U.S. economy was already showing cracks. slowing hiring, rising inflation, and a cooling housing market. Instead of shrinking the trade deficit, the policy has made it worse. The U.S. trade gap surged 38% in the first half of 2025. Retaliatory tariffs from other countries are making it harder for American companies to export. The global trade environment is now more contentious and unpredictable, affecting all multinational businesses. Legally, the administration used emergency powers to impose tariffs without Congress, but this is being challenged in court. Lawsuits argue the president overstepped, adding more uncertainty to the policy's future. The outcome of these legal battles could reshape the entire trade landscape. For now, the auto industry and the economy face a volatile, high-risk environment. The stakes for American workers and businesses have never been higher. The August 2025 tariffs have plunged the auto industry into crisis, with $11.8 billion in new costs and profits down $12 billion. Automakers from Toyota to GM are reeling, forced to cut investments and delay innovation. For now, companies are absorbing costs to avoid alienating customers, but this can't last. A $6,000 jump in car prices could make vehicles unaffordable for millions, triggering a sharp sales downturn. The policy has strained global supply chains and expanded the U.S. trade deficit, while legal challenges add more uncertainty. The shockwaves are being felt across the economy, from factory floors to family budgets. Automakers must now navigate high costs, political risk, and the threat of consumer backlash. The next few months will determine if this is a permanent shift or a temporary disruption. The future of American car manufacturing and its workers hangs in the balance. The road ahead is more uncertain than ever.